This music video was shot in one day, which was a huge challenge, especially for someone like me who's literally directing their first ever music video. And we had 2 setups to go through. And also, I had only had a rehearsal with Tara the day before. So there was a lot of pressure to be able to deliver this performance, to create this real world, but also just to get all of the footage that we needed. So my idea for the music video was to create a dreamlike world that blends together these interesting elements like nature, darkness, and surrealism. The song itself, Speak in the Dark, is all about speaking your truth and how darkness can overcome us or overpower us if we don't express our true feelings, our true thoughts and desires. And in the music video, Tara is in the middle of that darkness and it's growing around her, and she's desperately pleading with us, the viewer, to speak our truth before it's too late and that darkness consumes her. The first time I put on the headphones, I imagined her sitting on that rock, the close-up of the lips, the crawling on the water and the forest, and I very much go with my gut instinct, generating images in my mind the moment I hear the song. The first time I hear it, it's just so important. I had the wonderful experience of working with Ian Murray on this production, and not only is he incredibly talented and experienced as a DOP, but I've never really met anyone quite like him in terms of his very distinct understanding of how lighting and focal length and skin tones and color science can all work together to provoke emotion.
Aron gave me some references. A lot of directors now use AI to get some kind of references. So you get these quite kind of like visually sophisticated images that come at you that actually have usually have quite a strong look, and sometimes they look very close to what the director's actually looking for. And this was the case of what Aron said. So I initially had a very strong idea of what we were going for. We had quite a long conversation about the feeling of the movement of the camera and how that should reflect her performance. And we came up with 3 sort of different techniques that we're going to use to get different feeling of movement.
This music video uses virtual production, which is a technique that often uses a large LED wall that has a 3D scene in the background with camera tracking, and then you have a studio in front of that with real-world materials. And one of the key differences of working in an environment like that instead of green screen is that the lighting is real. You know, you're seeing reflections on Tara's eyeballs and her jewelry and on the water, and that's really helping to sell this dream world that we're trying to create. And also I think it benefits Tara as well because she can feel the environment she's in. You know, she's a very spiritual person, very creative person, and having the wall really helps her understand the world that we're putting her in.
We're always very aware that we wanted to try and create this environment that felt as organic as possible, knowing that it was made so artificially, and we wanted to try and create the illusion that it was organic. And part of that was using these old lenses, these sort of vintage lenses, and playing with focus. And we had some old Canon lenses that have a very antique quality and a very obvious character where the centre of the lens is sharp and the edges are quite soft. So we thought that would be good for the virtual productions. We're trying to go for this dreamy like experience, and we thought that the lenses sort of lent into that, and it's an opportunity to use these kind of old vintage lenses in a way that actually helps hide the process of virtual production a little bit.
This music video could not have happened without Racquet Studios. They are a group of incredibly talented and passionate people who have this incredible virtual production facility in Lewes. And this is the second time I've worked with them. We did a Stray 8 just less than a year ago. We seem to be upping the ante every time, and those guys, they mean a lot to me. Racquet Studios have a technical background as well as a creative background, and that really helps. So when I'm talking about this world I want to create, they do understand what I mean, and the lake is exactly what I had envisioned. But the forest was somehow created on the day. Rob from Racquet Studios was actually creating the scene from scratch.
This production ended up being a brilliant excuse to get our studio up and running. The date of the shoot ended up falling on about a week after we moved all of our equipment in. As the scenes ended up being quite striking but simple in their design and mostly based around the special lighting effects and the lightning and the fog and the clouds, I decided to build it from scratch, from assets that we had available, from plugins that we had available, to really dial in the same look and feel that Aron had in those initial AI images. One of the biggest challenges was realism. Whenever you're dealing with water and whenever you're dealing with foliage in virtual scenes, it's always a tricky balancing act to make sure you've got that good realism and fidelity for a virtual background. To merge both the virtual and the practical world required quite a lot of teamwork to light the scene, matching the lighting within Unreal Engine to the real environment.
Art direction was massive for this music video. I mean, you just need to watch it and you're seeing physical elements merge with virtual elements seamlessly.
The world that Aron presented for me when we first talked about this was immediately, dark, sand, otherworldly slightly. There's going to be some water. We want some water reflections in the foreground as well. That all appealed to me from a design point of view of how working it out and how we were going to do it. In terms of the art department team, it was really about bringing the world to life. So, bringing all the different elements that we'd acquired and just making it actually real. The first scene, the first setup, the lake scene, I had a few different ideas. I ended up calling a construction company that were very nice, and they gave me some pointers. They basically said, you can achieve this by doing it with polystyrene and some PVA, create some little pools. You can paint it with a PVA and sand to make it really strong, and then covering a black tarp pond liner with about 500, 600 kilos of black sand. So the forest scene, we didn't have very much time to dress a completely different set. And so what we did, we basically went on top of the black sand. We removed some pieces of polystyrene, but generally we kept it all very much how the previous set was, removed the tarps. And basically it was a matter of gathering a whole lot of trees and dead branches and stuff and flowers, little bits of moss. And I have to say, once all of that was put in place, it was completely unrecognizable.
Aron initially came to me with a storyboard that he had put together using AI-generated imagery and assets. That was very, very close to the final look of the music video. And I could tell that through both the conversations I'd had with Aron, but also the look of the storyboard, the way it'd been put together, this was not some kind of vague nod in the right direction and, ultimately it would look like X, Y, Z. It was a very clear, defined vision that he had, and a very visual approach to developing that in the early stages, something that typically you don't often get the chance to have as a colorist. I liked the fact that there was two distinct scenes with two distinct palettes, and tonally it was very interesting, particularly with the forest scenes. Aron was very clear about what he wanted in terms of a dark, moody look. It's a beautiful palette, actually. I love those sort of purpley mauves, those violets moving into those really cool silvery blues when the lightning effect essentially dims and it goes very blue. And then, of course, the work that I really need to do then is to make sure that the skin stands out amongst all of that. So protecting those skin tones and bringing them out. And then as we move into the greens, it obviously gets much darker. There's a lot more work to do in making sure that we've got those details in those shadows. The greens were beautiful. There was a lot less work for me to do with that color palette because it was fairly sort of well established in camera, and very happy with the way that it looked. Just a subtle bit of hue versus hue work, just to kind of push it exactly where I wanted it, and then keep it very consistent throughout.
The thing I'm most pleased about regarding the music video is, I think, just doing justice to the song, because this was a passion project for me. I love Tara's music. I love this song, Speak in the Dark. And I grew up listening to Portishead, Martina Topley Bird and Sade, and she's like a evolution of those kind of sounds. But also, creatively, the surrealism of this project was also drawn from a lot of my inspirations of like watching Twin Peaks and watching things like The X-Files or The Shining, and like those kind of things that I really love, both from music and from film, came together on this project. And I think my biggest worry was, can I pull that off? Can I do justice to this beautiful song? And thankfully, we did it. I'm really pleased with how we did it. I absolutely loved working with Tara. I mean, I knew she was creative. I knew that she was a confident person who has a very clear vision of who she is as an artist. But what I wasn't expecting was how much she was going to contribute creatively to this music video. In the forest scene, Tara really started to improvise and bring a new dimension to her performance. It was crazy. I mean, the last take that we did, we ran the song from start to finish 10 times in one take. It was an absolute nightmare for the editor, for sure. But each time, Tara was just giving more and more emotion. And she went through this type of emotional and spiritual journey where she's really getting immersed into the song, and then she's starting to really immerse herself into the environment, touching the soil, putting the soil on her face, her hands in the air. It's a huge credit to Tara's performance, and it's been an incredible journey working with her.
Sometimes the energy of a music video has its own direction, and sometimes you just got to be wise enough to follow that. The communication of like this emotional communication with music, I think, is a very kind of like primal thing. The most exciting times I've had on set is when really good music's playing and you think, oh, I'm part of this thing. Light and music are quite similar in the sense that they're intangible kind of energy that you're playing with. You're trying to mold this intangible energy, and it has a sort of a strong emotional reaction, right? And so music and light are very, very similar like that. There's something really magical when you get it right. When you, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but when you have music that you hear that you like, and then you see the video for it, and the video takes you even further into that magic, that's really a beautiful thing.
Tara's music is incredible. It's beautifully dark and poetic, and it's this interesting fusion of electronica and jazz and South Asian culture. It really takes you on a journey. And I think Tara has this incredible career ahead of her, so I hope that this video can help expose what she's doing.